what are we planting today?
We're doing potatoes tests, and there's a few different ways to plant them, and there's a few different types of potatoes as well.
Okay, so what types are we actually planting today?
Well, we've got first earlies like these, and these are fast growers. So these tend to be ready in sort of between 75 and 90 days. And then we've got these, which are the second earlies, and these are slower growers but give you a bigger harvest. And these tend to be ready in sort of 90 to sort of 120 days.
Okay.
And then in this big tub down here, we've got the main crops, and they just keep on growing until the first frost,
Right.
and they give an even bigger crop. And so you can see that we've got them in different size containers, because that kind of just reflects the size of the harvest that we're trying to achieve out of the three.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off with preparing a container.
So Dad, what are we filling these containers with?
Just homemade compost tests, but we're going to add a little bit of blood, fish and bone. So we start off just filling them about 6 inches deep,
Okay.
and then just one handful of blood, fish and bone, and just work that in a bit. So these are our second early potatoes. These are variety Charlotte.
So where have these been stored to get to this point?
So these arrived in about January time.
Okay.
We unboxed them, put them in seed trays, and just sort of put them like this way up,
Yeah.
with these little growth points kind of facing towards the light. We pop them in a bright space, but quite cool, you know,
Yeah.
so basically a north-facing windowsill sort of ideal. And what happens is they start to sprout,
Yeah.
but because they're in the light, the sprouts don't develop. So you
Okay.
get these stunted little kind of purpley sprouts like that.
Yeah.
And these potatoes now are absolutely primed for growth.
Okay.
And as soon as we plant them, they're going to burst into life.
Wow.
And so that's kind of what we're looking for.
Okay.
And because these are second earlies and we've got 30-litre containers, we just want to put 2 in each container.
Okay.
So we just settle them in with about 6 inches of compost underneath them. And then we're just going to fill this container again with another third. Again, homemade compost in this case, but you could just use multi-purpose compost
Yeah.
from the garden centre.
And do we just do the same process with the blood, fish and bone?
Yeah, we do. And what we're going to do now is firm them down really well around the outside.
Okay.
Because otherwise water will just run down the outside of the container when we water them later on, because this compost will always shrink.
Yeah.
So as the potatoes grow,
Yeah.
some of them will start to come near the surface.
Okay.
And when potatoes get exposed to the light, they
Yeah.
turn green,
Okay.
and that makes them just mildly poisonous. So we want to avoid light exposure.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to do is either just keep on filling this container up with compost,
Yeah.
or just fill it now to the brim with something like wood chip,
Okay.
and then the potatoes will grow through that wood chip layer,
Yeah.
and it'll just protect them from any light exposure, and it'll also save them losing water.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, do we need to give them any more fertiliser?
No, that blood, fish and bone that we gave them is a very nice slow release fertiliser,
Okay.
and so it'll just gradually release the nutrients as the potatoes need and through life, so we don't really need to feed them again.
That's great. And do we need to give them more water throughout? Or...
Yeah, so potatoes at this sort of stage, when they're quite young, so
Yeah.
these are sort of only about a month old since breaking surface, they don't need a huge amount of water, but they do need the compost just to keep sort of a standard, constant sort of moisture level.
Okay.
So we're looking for like moist, not wet.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start to see flowers on them, you know that they're starting to develop the actual tubers.
Yeah.
And at that point, we want those tubers to swell as much as possible. So we
Okay.
want to give them a good water, and that'll be basically in the summertime.
Yeah.
So at that point, we're probably watering them twice a week and giving them a good drench.
Okay, so how would we tell if it's moist or not, the soil?
So kind of just pull this back here and then just sort of dig around a little bit there. And you can kind of see there, look, that is quite moist, and you can kind of feel it on your fingertips as well. There's a different feel, sort of cool, that sort of damp feel, to the sort of surface layer, which sort of feels dry and crumbly.
Okay.
So these are one of those potato tubs, 10 weeks old, swift. So we're just going to harvest these. So we only put one tuber in these small pots, so we won't get a very big yield. But at this time of year, kind of any potatoes are like a real bonus. Even the little ones.
They're my favourites, the little ones. What are we going to do with this old compost now?
I just put it straight back into the compost bin.
Okay.
And then we'll just add loads more green waste to it.
Okay.
And it'll all be rejuvenated and ready for next year.
Nice. Clean up these potatoes and aren't they looking great? These are the second early potatoes, is that right?
Yeah, they are. And so
Okay.
they were 90 days old now for these, which
Oh,
is
wow.
the youngest you could really harvest the second early. So ideally
Yeah.
you'd be harvesting them at 120 days. But these have been enjoying the warmth of the polytunnel,
Yeah.
and we just kind of really want to eat some bigger potatoes right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to take these off and we'll see what we've got,
And you're just cutting them off.
just to make it easier to manage, really.
Yeah.
But you can see, because they've been in the polytunnel, we've got a lot of
Wow.
greens on these.
Yeah. And they just go in the compost heap.
Yeah. So let's turn these out, see what we've got. Oh, that's looking quite nice.
Yeah. A lot bigger than the ones we had last time.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're looking really lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, so nice.
And swift potatoes, the first earlies, they're nice.
Yeah.
But, you can't beat Charlotte second early.
Yeah.
Really gorgeous.